Hello, good afternoon, and welcome all to the webinar on using Manta to provide data lineage across information systems. I hope you can all hear me. We did some tests before, so I guess that this works. Bert, can you put on the next slide, please? Okay, that seems to work. Thank you. I trust that all of you have been too familiar with Zoom meetings for the last 12 to 15 months, so I don't need to explain too much about that. Some household rules and practical information. You're all muted during the session, and except for the presenters, we don't want to change that. If you have any questions, of course, you can ask them, but please use the chat function and then we will handle them later. The webinar will be recorded and we will send you a copy of the slides by mail later, probably next week sometime. Now, what's on the agenda? Next slide, please. Okay. First, some introductions. We have put a picture of the presenters on the slide. They all agreed that it was a recent picture, so I just leave it to you to decide whether or not that's true. My name is Stef de Boete, and I will be your host for this webinar, which is organized by Aexis, Credon, and Manta. On the top left, we have Michael Post from NN, Nationale Nederlanden, who will share his customer experience with you later in the presentation. Then Jan Suchanek from Manta will give you more insight in how their lineage works and what you can expect from it. And he will also give you a short demo. My colleague Bert Lenders will introduce you to Lineage in more general way, and explain why this is relevant and valuable for organizations. All presenters can introduce themselves at the beginning of their part. And let's have a look at the agenda. To start with, I will do a short introduction of Aexis and Credon. Then Bert and Jan will cover data lineage subject, explaining why it's important, how it is achieved, and what are the benefits to expect. And Michael, as already indicated, will share why NN chose Manta for data lineage, how they use it, and what is their experience after using it for a few years. I think he will also, of course, give you an interesting live case. We'll then wrap up and answer questions if we have some time left, but let's first move forward so we make sure that we have some time left. Aexis, very briefly, one slide. The company started actually in 75 as a subsidiary of a US software vendor called ComShare. So that's a long history. Local management continued then as an independent company, and we started using the Aexis brand name in 1993. Not at that time, but not too much later, I joined and I started working for Aexis in 2000, and I'm responsible for the business unit data management. Since 2016, we are part of a bigger organization called the MedTech Group, and Credon joined the group in 2017 and is now also integrating with the Aexis data management team. So that's why we are hosting together this event, and probably many more events to come in the coming months. We have some customer logos put on this slide. These are, I would say, just to show you a few names of probably familiar or less familiar customers in all industries that are varying in size from large global players to mid-size local organizations and government. We can't, of course, show all the logos or all the customer names in this presentation. That's not the purpose. Okay, if we have a look at the way we at Aexis have organized our activities. We actually have organized them around several domains of expertise, using specific software tools from various suppliers. So on the left side of this slide, you see for the Office of Finance actually, so most of the finance departments in various organizations, we have quite an extensive offering for performance management, which is based on technology from vendors such as Board, JEDOX, and IBM, which actually would be more accurate to say the Cognos, mainly the Cognos side of the IBM offering. You also see some probably less familiar logos, Hobet, Homap, Finosta, which are Aexis owned applications for the healthcare sector, but also related to the performance management activities. On the right side of this slide, you see something which is more familiar to what we are discussing today, which is actually two domains where we are active, which is the data management team where I'm responsible for, and which is the business intelligence team from Credon. So at Credon, they have a long history with Click as a supplier, and they have a huge experience and a nice customer base with them. And more recently, they have also developed an activity around Microsoft offering, mainly on Power BI. Within data management, we have a complete offering where we work with Manta, Informatica, and a vendor called OpScience. And as you can imagine, the word science in that sentence relates to the data science, because we are the data management team, of course. So within our offering, we offer complete solutions, reading various sources of data, understanding, combining, cleaning the data, and delivering them to consumers for any purpose. So in any latency, real-time, batch, traditional way, more message-based, and so on. What we see is that due to various trends, such as the growing volume of data, obviously, digitalization, and increasing expectations of information users, next to the introduction of regulations such as GDPR, but definitely not limited to GDPR, there is a lot more interest and importance for data governance. Now, data governance is a broad label. A first step in that domain is to have a good understanding of the flow of data in the information chain. And that's where data lineage or lineage, as you will hear today, we have two ways of explaining it, depending on which language you are native in. That's where it comes in the picture. So next slide. Okay, so I think we are on at point 2 in the agenda, and I hand over to Bert.
Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Bert Lenders, working for 18 years for Aexis, so a little bit less than Steph, but my entire career has been focused on data management, and that's also my role within Aexis, which is practice leader and pre-sales within the Aexis data management group or department, in which the day-to-day operations are with me, but also division creation, firefighting, and building trust with customers. Before we go into the, let's say, the more interesting parts of the discussion where we see the tool and where we see an actual usage of the tool, my role was to introduce you into the concept of data lineage and why data lineage can be important, even business-wise or let's say money-wise. Very short, data lineage, it actually means what the word says. It's visualizing the flow of how your data flows from one system to another. It sounds very simple, but if you look into more complex systems at customers, data warehouses, but also operational data flows, you will see that data actually crosses a lot of steps, a lot of systems, a lot of transformations, a lot of intermediate processes that are happening with your data from the very first entrance of the data within your ecosystem to the various people who are using the data at the end and consume the data. Giving you such a visualization of your data flow will give you a lot of intelligence on how your data flows, how you can use your data, and it will enable your digital transformation. One of the first use cases is of course data governance and compliance. Every company that has some compliance ruling will immediately know that knowing where data comes from is really important for them, whether it is within a financial company or a financial bank or financial institute, or it's in a retailer where they have all the food regulations. Knowing where your data is coming from, knowing what the quality of the data is, and knowing who can see which data and which data is sensitive is of extreme importance. And as you can see on the left-hand side of this screen, these are the typical questions that we don't only see popping up when we talk about compliance, but also within customers who are already a little bit maturing within the data governance world, or companies and companies who have decided, yes, we see more value in the data than just the operational value that data is delivering us, or data is a result of an operational process. So people who are already on the next step of saying, yes, we would like to use our data to improve our processes, they will immediately have questions like, what data do we have? What does it actually mean, the data that we have? What's the data quality? What's the quality of the data? Is it good? Is it not good? Where does it come from? Etc. etc. Data lineage is a crucial cornerstone within this métier. You really need to know technically in detail where data is coming from. You need to discover what has been defined within your ecosystem, your entire IT system, whether it's schemas, tables, columns, procedures, transformations, whatever. And it's important that you have a global vision, a holistic vision. So this means not only a partial vision on, for example, toolings that are using low code or that using metadata driven ways of developing and moving your data from source to target, but also data lineage on code driven environments. If you look at most environments, still a lot of the companies, a lot of the institutions are using programming language to interact with data. There is COBOL, there's COBOL PL1, there's mainframe, there's Java, there's C#, C++. There is an entire variety of coding languages that are operationally and often also analytically, like Python, etc., interacting with data. So it's really important to know that if we talk about data lineage and if we talk about Manta, Manta is a tool that covers both domains. It doesn't only cover the metadata-driven development environment, but it especially covers the code-managed environments also. So one of the most important ones that is covered and that I forgot is basically every SQL dialect that you would find within a company. So if we look at governance, and if you look at, and we take it one step further, on this screen you see an example why technical lineage would be extremely important also for business people, especially within compliance. So on the lower end of the slide, you see an example of a technical lineage, data flowing from the left-hand side from a customer relationship management system and I think the data warehouse or a master data management system, through the data warehouse, through some transformations into an invoicing system. On the lower end, we see the technical details, we see all the technical fields, the technical names. However, this information is crucial and important basically to abstract and to distillate a business lineage, a lineage that shows you the flow of your business terms. So really on a business level, okay, how is my first or last name moving from one system, from my MDM system, for example, through my data warehouse and ends up in the invoice. And this is a crucial element within data governance, as it's really from the business. It needs to come from both business and from the technical environment, and both worlds need to meet in the middle and need to join forces in order to provide a complete and full vision on how data is used. And so, as we said, Manta, it's one part, it's the data lineage part, especially on the coding part, but it enables and it accelerates your efforts that you need to do to meet your regulatory commitments. It increases trust in data, also on a business level. So the question, if you have at the end of a data warehouse report, you have a report and you have a figure, the obvious question that people will ask is, can we trust this figure? Can we trust the result of a report? Well, basically what you see in Manta will prove that the way the figure is calculated, the way the sources that are used to calculate the result that we see in the report, that it's correct and that it is valid. So it increases the trust in the data and in the overall data pipeline, and it will accelerate the value of your analytical environment. It will also enable you to accurately define the scope of your governance initiatives. And last but not least, it's a technical tool. It provides you technical lineage, but it integrates in the most popular data governance solutions that are used on a business side. So the distillation of technical to business is quite easily to do. The second use case is using Lineage when we talk about migrations to the cloud. It's a hot topic today. A lot of people are starting or are in the middle of a migration from an on-premise data center, from older on-premise applications into the newer world of the cloud, and in moving from on-premise applications into SaaS applications. And then a lot of questions pop up. What are the data sets that we actually have to migrate? When we talk about CRM, okay, we have a CRM system. Is it the only system that we need to move? Do we have other systems? Do we have duplicate data sets? What are the dependencies with our CRM system? Do we need to move other systems to the cloud too in order to make the new system work? What's the quality of the data that we have over there? Do we know how the data is being constructed? Do we know where the data is actually coming from? Do we need to modify the data before we move to the cloud? Do we have technical knowledge on the current system, and do we have technical knowledge on the future system? These are questions that also often pop up, and the result is that a migration into the cloud becomes tedious, the projects overrun, and the risk of failure becomes quite high, because a lot of information is not present to the people who are performing the project, making the result not really what people desire. And so there, if you use the lineage, you immediately have a lot of answers to the questions that we asked in the previous slide. As Lineage is describing the flow of data, it immediately shows you the dependencies between data sets, so you know which data sets are there. It will also show you all the flows that you have from a particular data set. And you would be surprised if you actually implement a data lineage project on some of the older legacy systems. You will discover that at a lot of people, a lot of customers, or a lot of prospects, duplicate data sets are actually multiple data sets. We have knowledge of mainframe people who are doing daily, monthly, weekly unloads from the same data set, not once, not twice, but 20 to 25 times. So basically, they have the same process implemented 25 times, probably for 25 end consumers, but the result is each time is exactly the same. So basically, these are the things that you will discover. And these will also be the things where you will gain time and that you will de-risk your process if you do migrations. So the scope of a project of a migration project will be a lot better You will identify redundant data flows. You will see where you can reuse things. You will also see where the critical transformations are within your scope. You will uncover data sets that are not used. If you don't have any dependency and you see that there's no use of the data, also this is something that you will discover and where you can become more efficient. And last but not least, you can also do a continuous lineage, not only on your old infrastructure, but also on your cloud infrastructure to see if your migration is done correctly. And the last use case that I wanted to share with you quite quickly is what we call the lineage in the data operations. If you look in the development environment where data is used a lot, we see that environments are becoming a lot more complex and the variety of data sets and technologies used is increasing exponentially. Not only that's increasing exponentially, the demand for more frequent changes and releases is also increasing quite rapid and quite high. The terms CI/CD are popping up at every customer, which means they want to have a continuous implementation and continuous change of small things in their flow. It's interesting. It's very beneficial for the business, but on an IT side, it creates stress and it creates a high cost and a more fragile maintenance because documentation, knowing where you have to perform the change, knowing where the impact can be, becomes a lot more important in order to avoid very time-consuming debugging processes. And again, there is a quote from somebody who basically quantified it. It's an old quote, but it's from an American company, and they said, well, we calculated that if you look at the development team in a business as usual environment where we need to do regular changes on our environment, they spend 80% of their time assessing the impact. And only 20% of their time is actually implementing the change. So they lose a lot of time. They spend a lot of time in looking for the documentation and looking for what's the impact if we change a small thing on the left, what will be the impact on the right. And I think almost everybody, or especially in an analytical world, it happens quite a lot. You experience the pain of a source system that has changed something, table, a column, without letting you know, without preventing you and causing your analytical flow to fail. This is something typically that you could avoid or more easily avoid if you use a data lineage solution. There's a nice analogy on the entire problem that we have here, which is with FedEx, with the way they move packages. And there, their founder put it very clearly. He said, well, basically the information about a package or the metadata about a package is as important as the delivery of the package itself. So having all this information, having this visualization of the metadata of how data flows from one side to another is as important as the data itself. And again, there you can use Manta. And I'm not going over all the benefits. I think Michael will show you a use case where this is really clearly and nicely proven how Lineage can help you in a DataOps environment. So Jan, up to you.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Now, let me introduce me. My name is Jan Suchanek. I work at Manta as a technical account manager in customer success. From my professional career for a long time, I'm a former DVH developer, and I was also working for a long time for Oracle Corporation and Teradata. So I'm happy now to demonstrate, to make a short demo of the functionality of Data Unified Lineage platform. So let me share. First of all, I will just make some comments on the slide. You can see the Manta software consists of simply it's a web Java-based application running in the on the applications server. And basically how it works that we are connecting to various data sources which are configurable, and we are scanning the metadata and the program code. Basically, it's in the case of Oracle, the procedures, packages, and so on. In the case of Microsoft SQL Server, there are packages, functions, and so on. And we are also able to connect to other sources like OBIEE or Power BI reports. And simply we grab the metadata, we copy them to internal storage, and in the step 2, we perform the analyze. In short, it's the lineage extraction with added semantics you are able to add there. And finally, you are able to see and explore and deep dive into your lineage and perform some searches or export. And as said before, we are also able to integrate with other data governance tools like Elation, Colibra, Informatica Power Center, and we are able to complete the lineage with missing information, which most likely some tools like that are not able or not willing to explore. Especially we are focused on the SQL code or Java code, C# code, COBOL code, Python code, and so on. And next slide, please. If there is any. Yeah. And just a short review what makes data lineage difficult to achieve. For sure, you can analyze your own code if it is small, but as the company grows and you acquire more technologies, you add more application, or as you merge some application, the application is being acquired, you increase the level of detail, or some people who made the code is leaving the company. It makes it really hard to maintain this code. And Manta provides the automated way how to orchestrate your lineage. So I think that's all from, let's say, the short introduction. And now I will share my screen. It's now visible?
Yep, it is. At least I see it.
Yes. So, okay. So basically, as I said earlier, the solution is provided like 2 separated web servers running internally on Tomcat, and we provide two separate user interfaces. The one, as you will see here, it's called admin UI. It's used to administer your lineage solution, and the other is called flow server or flow viewer, and it allows you to browse your repository and to show the lineage. I will just start with some admin UI task. Here you can manage your different configurations to connect to source system or the target system. You can simply add whatever you want. We support some databases, data integration tool, programming languages. Here are some data modeling tools, even the Erwin. And we also provide something like we call Open Manta, which allows you to add sources which are not supported by our native scanners. But this is in short everything. Also, just one remark on the architecture: we do not provide any agent which should be deployed on the database side. We are just connecting through, most likely via JDBC. So you will just configure your connection. You will name it somehow. You will list the schemas you want to extract. You can also exclude some databases or schemas. You provide some username, the password, and the connection string, and you connect to the database. Just to mention also, we do not require privileges which are able to read the data. We are concerned only on metadata, so most likely we will require only privileges to see data dictionary, but not the particular table. So we are not able to see what's inside your data, or we can see the data itself, but we are concerned in the procedures and the table definitions, view definitions, and so on. This is in short. Here you have some tab how to configure your environment, but this is not too much important in this case. And finally, in the process manager here, you can just execute the scan. For example, I will kind of run everything and scan every single. It will just go through my configuration and it will scan everything which is configured and enabled. You can also invoke this from command line interface or through some orchestration API using advanced schedulers or other tools which will orchestrate also if you have integration with Alation or Colibra or whatever, you can use one single point of administration and call our API. And finally, when it will be finished, you will be able to here to view the lineage. And just describing what you can see here on in the repository, you will get the list by the technologies. This is the technology view, or you can also have from business point of view or the logical point of view, but in this case you can see only a technical point of view. So it is listed by technology. In this case, I have two configured connections. One is to Microsoft SQL database, the other one is to Oracle database. And just concerning metadata, you will drill down. You will see that you have some server running on this machine. We have multiple databases here, so I will connect in my Manta database, the DVH database. And for example, I'm really interested on, let's say, on some procedure which is import loan. So I will double click or I will drag and drop here to select the elements. I will just scroll down. You can see some information here that this is the import loan procedure. Use technology is Microsoft SQL. This is the procedure, and this is the path. Let's say we use a tree structure to save the information in the graph database. So this is the path which will be referred later on, and this is showing which connection has been used to get the data, and the definition of source is telling this is not from the file system or some custom SQL file or whatever. It is directly taken from the database. So and now you can set up your visualization parameters here in terms of details. So in the case you want to see just low detail, it will be just object to object general overview. The medium one will tell you which table and so on, and high level detail, it will show you everything. You can change it this upon the visualization click, and can be modified later. Also, what is very important here is the direction. If you are interested in forward data lineage, so I am interested what's after, what impact has the import loan procedure. So let's say if you imagine the time graph, so what is on the right? The backward, it's we are looking for the sources in both, obviously both direction. Here also what is very interesting is the visualize indirect flows. Just to explain what the indirect flow is in, it is for example, the direct lineage shows you the real data movement. So if you have some column A in table A and the column A in the table B, and you have some procedure which is moving the data, you will see that as a direct lineage. But if you put something in the word clause when you're joining tables, or in the join clause, in the view definition, when you filter something out, or simply, for example, if you, in the case of Oracle, if you mention some partition on the data range which is defined within the partition, it doesn't directly affect the lineage, but we will show the indirect flow here as a dotted line, and it just warns you that there is some transformation which is like hidden in the background. And here you can see some filters. So you want to see just file, reports, database, objects, important objects, or everything. And the steps displayed in to the direction right, to the left, it just sets the level of your visualization. I will now click here just to show you what's being displayed. So this is the lineage of our import loan procedure. Basically, what it does, I will just make it larger. Here we have, you can see we have some Manta database, Manta server, DVH database, and import loan procedure. And we have some, because we are going through the code, and here you can see the procedure body. And on clicking here in the merge statement, you can see that there are many interesting things. Because I set the level to medium, I need to click down here, and you can see that something is getting here from the tables. So most likely from this procedure, from this table. So this, the birth date is constructed from the date of the birth, country ID, and so on. There is some. And finally, we are this import loan body procedure is merging into party table. So the birth date is coming, it's referenced back here as the birth date, but we also use as an indirect reference some source ID. It's most likely in the join clause, and it's also affecting those procedures which are called later. It's import loan body, import CRM. CRM body. Finally, it's being propagated here. We can see some other functions, and finally, we are ending up in this part body tape or statement, which is just deleting or make some cleanup or reference. What is interesting here? You can, because what's different? What makes Manta different from other data governance tools? You have also an information regarding your SQL quote here. So, for example, if you are interested, what's being with the birthday here, how it is handled, you just click on right, click on show context for this element, and you are being moved to the window, and the pointer here or this, you are pointed directly to the piece of code which is affecting your data, or which is responsible for the lineage. This is not.
Sorry to interrupt, but we are on a tight schedule, and I'm afraid I have to ask you to hand over to Michael now. I think that you did a great presentation and demo here, but probably people who want to see more need to come back to us.
Okay. Just let me say one simple word. You can also compare different revisions here. So if you ran the scan, let's say 1 week ago, and you change something in your code, you can compare different revisions to see what has been changed since last execution. So you can compare to different revisions and to different lineage. It will show that something has been deleted, renamed, or added. And because there's a time pressure, I will hand over this to Mike. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry about that, Jan, but
that's completely fine.
Proceed on this. Thank you. Michael, up to you.
Yes. Hello. Thank you. I have not a real PowerPoint, so we have to check if it's really working. Spotlight myself. Can you see me now in the big screen?
Absolutely.
Yes? Okay, great. There was a mentioning about FedEx, but I just got a message that UPS is coming, so maybe I have to run to the door to open, but that's just for now. Thank you for the time here, and I will tell you about our Manta flow journey, a brief introduction of our environment, our proof of concept at the start, but also a real-world example, which you probably can relate to, and a short summary of our results. There it goes. So I work at NN Pensions, and just very brief, I'm not going to do a whole introduction about our company, but to get a bit of knowledge, we have more than 2 million policies in our pension department, and our data resides in more than 10 source systems. And that is because we're migrating a lot to new technologies, but also that a pension policy can be very old, because when you start at your 20th at a company, you already have a pension that we have to pay out when you're 65 or 67 or 68, or probably for me a little bit later. Focusing on our data tech stack, we have a variety of systems that we use for data storage, data movement, but also for business rules, for AI modeling, and for reporting. So that's it's making a complex environment. And a little bit on what we do and what our challenge was is, I work in the data management and innovation team of pensions. And we create data insights to our business, but we also have an application to bring the data to the people in the back office, and there are currently working 400 employees with this application. We maintain multiple data warehouses. We have multiple dashboards, software robots, and a chatbot. And due to multiple reorganizations, we have multiple SQL databases from different projects, from different business units, and there are multiple database solutions. And most of our business logic is written in SQL code, and we do ELT instead of ETL. So all our changes are mostly done in SQL code. And in our situation, knowledge dependencies on several key employees. So the interchangeability, or the T-shape that what we say in teams, is not really there, and it's because of a timing period or where someone worked before. And mentioning earlier, and that's also this picture, it's a bit of a complex world with a lot of systems, with a lot of history, with a lot of time traveling in our data. So, knowing this, going back to the start, we did a POC to help us with this environment. And we came to Manta. And we had a requirements list, and this is just a short summary on this page. So we wanted to do technical lineages, one of the data warehouses, and have no manual work on code extraction. That was a very important one because there are a lot of them. And we want to create a visual environment for all our developers to see where the data is coming from and doing analysis on it. A nice to have, we want that the business knowledge gap between the DevOps employees will decrease. That's still difficult because it's a technical lineage, so you still need to know some business. You need to have some business domain knowledge to map that. And what we wanted to do is to grow the development, the interchangeability of working on several user stories in different environments, and less effort of key employees to do this. So the result, the POC was successful. In a day, the scanning was done with the help of Manta. The scanning of the SQL database was really a breeze, and we did more scanning on more databases than we expected at the start. And as you just saw, it's just configuring a connection, giving the connection the appropriate rights to the user, and then you can perform the lineage. So that was really cool. And then implementing, we have a very big organization. So I had to do a lot of networking, making business cases. Why do we want this? And 3 years ago, when we started this journey, data lineage was not very known, not very top of mind of doing, and that's changing a lot in the whole world of data. You see that lineage is much more known and much more important. But eventually I managed. And the thing I underestimated, because I'm not an expert on security, I'm not a certificate expert, don't know a lot of the NN networking, the implementation in the real NN landscape took a bit more time than I anticipated. So my advice is, for when you do this, is really get these people on board. From your networking, from your infra team, to also create all those connections. And then the real world example. Yes, so at the start of COVID, before we used to work at the office, but also at home, so we had a mixed teams. But when we all had to go to home, our network had a lot of issues because of the VPN connections was overloaded, and people were working in shifts. So some people are working in the morning, some people in the midday, after lunch, and the other ones in the evening. And as I mentioned, we host an application that has 400 employees. And the backend is a SQL server and available in Manta. So we contacted senior management with the option to disable some parts that have a high network frequency in our application. So the question we obviously got was, what's the impact on our reporting, on our steering data? Are we still able to make the same day-to-day choices, or are we going to be blind in the part that we're used to data now? So, as you saw earlier in the demo, it's very easy to find table objects in your landscape, and also where the data is coming from, but also where is the data going to. So we knew from our application which table we needed to disable some functionality and label it different. So what we did is just open Manta, search for a particular table, search after we found the table, is there a reference to our reporting layer? Then we search for the explicit field, but will impact the reporting. And then we had the answer. And now I'm going to try to demo that live. But I'm going to share my screen now in a different way. So share your window. Oh, it's only showing in this part. Can you see a bit of my screen, Steph? Can you confirm?
Yeah, we have. I have, let's say, 25% of my screen is yours.
Wait, one moment. Probably when I do this. Now it's a bit bigger.
Yeah.
But not really. Okay, let's try. It's just for, we're not going into details like you saw just. So what I said is we need to do some lineage on a table. We want to see if this table in our functionality will go to our reporting layer. This is the table that has a lot of references, and that's because this is an organizational table with all authorizations of teams. So this is the table, and when I zoom out, you will see this is quite some lineage. And in the application, but also to the data warehouse and to the Power BI report. So what we did is the following. So we have this table, and then we say, is our reporting layer in this? Yeah. So we have a hit on our reporting layer, probably multiple times. So then we go back to, where was our table here? So I said, now we know which field we need. And it was this one. You can also search it in this field. So we recreate lineage. I press the control button and then restart that visualization for this element. A new window pops up. And then you will see this is much more friendly lineage. We still see here only our application database. We can continue the lineage. And at the end, it will stop in the application. So there is no reference to our reporting layer for this field. And we know we needed to change this field, and some part of it will change. So then the next one is very powerful, is what was shown earlier by Jan, is this one. But does it maybe affect it in an indirect way, this field? So maybe in a where clause or in a join clause. This one, drag here. And then we also did this, and now we have the impact. There is no impact on the reporting layer, because also here we don't go to our reporting layer. So our impact analysis was, yeah, you can see it in real time. This is the impact analysis of the change. And then I'll go back to my, where is it? Sorry. This one. Stop. There I am again. So what are the a short summary of our results? Yeah, we could really clean up our repository, because yeah, what also happens is that sometimes code is deployed and it doesn't work anymore. It can still live in your data warehouse, or it still can live in a view. But yeah, you just leave it there, and then it doesn't work. Manta you can see in Manta if there is a not connected source. So we use that also for impacting. Can we delete code? So we clean up it. We clean our database. We also find code that was accidentally placed in the wrong database. you can just clean it up. And after migration, we also can rationalize code for particular systems that do not provide any data mere to our data warehouse. And knowledge, yeah, a big part is insights in the database project from other teams. So they migrate a part of us to give it to us. Sometimes the people leave the company, and we can just see the lineage and the code in a visual way. We have expanded our team with a lot of with 2 data scientist people, and they're new, so they're missing out all the domain kennis, but also all the data platform kennis, knowledge kennis, and so they can really consume information and where is my data coming from, what changes are you doing to the data from the raw source to the information layer, to the reporting layer, to not miss out on any changes in the chain. And yeah, knowing instead of guessing. Sometimes we guess there is no impact, and now we know there is no impact. And less time there is to consume from experts to get that knowledge. People can get it themselves. That was a very short and brief real-world example for my part. Steph, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. You're still alive, so that's okay. I see you're still. Thank you very much. It's a very interesting point of view, of course, to hear from a customer. Maybe I didn't see any questions come in, and I know we are running over time. So maybe just for my understanding, also. What you have shown, looking for impact analysis and so on, wouldn't it have been with Manta? How would you have to do that, or would that be possible at all?
Yeah, we needed to rely on our developers, and then just go through stock procedures, go through views, go to do the Lineage is able to do it by a manual exercise, but then you just create a pile of work that you have to, when we see this, we did this. And yeah, that's so it's possible, but now the impact was done in, I think literally a call with 5 people. And then we said, we are doing this change.
Okay.
And otherwise, it probably would take a sprint.
Yeah. Okay. It's fair to say that it probably has shortened the time to come to the same result, if ever that same result would have been reached without. Okay, great. Sounds good. I think, unfortunately, we have run over time. I can see also that many people stayed on, so thank you for that. And that proves that they found it valuable to stay some more time for your presentation. Thank you very much, Michael. In wrapping up, I would say I think we have learned today that data lineage is of importance for various purposes, that it can help to support you for migrations, for DataOps, for compliance reasons, and probably for many more. I think we have to close by now. For those of you who are still on, just thank you again for staying on. Thanks also to the presenters. As said before, at the introduction, we will share the presentation via mail. I didn't see any questions come in, but if you have questions, please don't hesitate to send us a mail, and we will follow up on that. And I would say thank you again, and we'll be in touch. Bye for now.